that we here highly resolve these dead shall not have died in vain, that the nation shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
This nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom.
This nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom.
This nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom.
This nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom.
This nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom.
This nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom. This nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom.
That this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom.
The nation shall have a new birth of freedom.
And welcome everybody back to Thor at 4, your best weekly source of all your local information. Don't forget, if you want to call in, you can call in at 301-917-9171. And as a quick public service announcement, if you happen to see the Four Horsemen or Cthulhu mulling around, please let us know. We'd like to inform everybody. You know, we are in day 5 of a new presidency, but fortunately nothing has been... I haven't seen any of the harbingers of the apocalypse quite yet, but we'll see how the next 4 years go, and we'll keep you all up to date. So, passive plan where the government was acting like a member of the free market and buying up property when it became available.
That's what I read when I read the 90 plan. That's not what I experienced in the meeting. That wasn't the attitude I experienced in the meeting in 2003. And here we are now in 2017 with the 2016 plan, and it's a whole different kettle of fish.
Absolutely, and that's why I brought you here. So talk to me about the 2016 plan.
I might have to stop and take a sip of water. Okay, so...
Just don't be like Marco Rubio, you know. Just don't do it awkwardly.
And okay, so the Potomac River extends about 60 miles, and it's one of the I believe it's the largest tributary into the Potomac River, and of course we know the Potomac River flows into the Chesapeake Bay.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so the local governments, the Carroll County and Frederick County, formed as the River Board. And it consists of 10 people, 5 from Frederick County and 5 from Carroll County. And the River Board's role is to recommend governmental policies and initiatives for adoption, to the local governments that are related to the Monocacy River.
So it's just another board that we have.
Just another board.
Just like we have the Roads Commission and all these other things here. So. Okay.
Read this. It all sounds very benign. It sounds good. Everyone wants to help the water quality.
Yeah, everybody likes clean air and clean water.
Clean air, clean water, and keep the scenic beauty of the Monocacy River. But so it sounds all benign. But pardon me, when you start reading through the plan, I mean, we were shocked to learn that...
Well, we'll get to the nasty parts here pretty soon. We got to take a quick break.
Okay, sure.
So when we come back, we're going to talk about all the little gems hidden within this Monocacy River plan. You're listening to Thor at 4, and we'll be right back. And welcome back to Thor at 4. I'm here with Lisa and Earl Bell. We were just talking about war stories over the break, obviously, because that's what we do. So when we left off, we were just getting ready. So initially, it sounded like this whole Monocacy River Board was kind of like, hey, this is going to save the planet and give us clean water, and it seems like a good thing, right?
Well, it seemed like a very noble cause, as misguided as it might be. So immediately after we heard this, after being appalled about this 500-foot plus, I might add plus, setback, in some cases it can go for thousands of feet into people's lands.
So before we jump the gun here, okay, so this new 2016 plan, what makes this so different than the 1990 plan?
Well, what it does, and I'll tell you what the 1990 plan said. Well, there's 78 recommendations in the new 2016 updated plan, but a number of them that are damaging to property owners and farmers, and one of the ones that just has most everyone in an uproar is that the new 2016 Monocacy River Plan proposal, it calls for the local governments to unnecessarily take 8,000 acres of property from landowners along the Monocacy River to be under government control.
8,000. So I'm trying. If I remember right, because we did a show about this a while ago. I believe there's 144,000 acres of farmland in the entire county. I know my numbers are wrong, but there's
We'll switch units on you. For this basin that drains into the Monocacy, there's 900 square miles.
Okay.
So we have 58 miles of river, and if you work the math it's kind of a complicated formula because it isn't exactly 500 feet. It varies and gets much larger.
When I was looking at the map, I mean, I saw some places along the Platte here that was taken over like a bunch of houses in developments.
Well,
like,
it takes over that and our house.
It encompasses our entire home.
Yeah, and there's like these little like weird fingers that go out everywhere. I was like, I thought for a second Ursula was hanging out on the river edge here, So okay, so it could be 500 feet. It could be more. It could be less.
Let me explain why it could be more, if you don't mind.
Do tell.
Okay, so when you just referenced the maps. Now, they're available online if someone goes to the Frederick County website and searches for the Monocacy Scenic River Board, and you go to that site. It'll take you to the Frederick County and to the board site. You can click on the river plan, the 2016 river plan, and if you also want to review the 1990 plan, you can just Google it, 1990 Monocacy River Scenic Management Plan. Their vision was if there was any suggested land setbacks, what we're talking about now, that they remain voluntary, they were suggestions only, and that they would, quote, never function as a regulatory measure, so not to be regulated.
Okay, so originally they said, hey, if you want to do this, if you want to have this overlay, you can have this overlay.
Yeah, they're suggesting a voluntary
so
setback.
What's happening now? So if I have property within these yellow lines, what does that mean for me going forward?
And thus the problem. Somehow it migrated from this commitment to a voluntary land setback. Now the River Board and their government sponsors are calling for a regulatory setback. And what that means is the land is basically under government control. So in essence, it's land confiscation by regulations. And the reason why I call it land confiscation is because within the setback, they have the ability to layer on regulations in perpetuity in the future. And actually in the 2016 plan, there's already some restrictions that they're suggesting, like including grading and building. That's a real big one.
So as soon as we come back, we're going to talk about where this 500-foot number came from and what's going to be installed along the Monocacy River on the backs of their homeowners. You're listening to Thor at 4, and we'll be right back.
My name is William Warren, owner of Emmanuel Technology Consulting. In this rapidly changing world of technology, the last thing you want to do is search for help for all the technology in your life from several different companies. Emmanuel Technology Consulting is experienced in multiple platforms, including smartphones, iPads, Android tablets, and gaming consoles, just to name a few. Data security is a huge issue these days, and you need to protect your data from malware, software corruption, or hardware failure. Emmanuel Technology Consulting is not just about prevention or about proactive intervention when it comes to your important information. When you have a problem, you don't have to wait for a phone call back. We will respond quickly to you, and we are experts at remote diagnostics, so you will have a quick solution. That's Emmanuel Technology Consulting. Call us today at 301-524-5271 or check us out online at etc-md.com. Emmanuel Technology Consulting, helping you design your digital life.
Easy come, easy go, will you let me go? Bismillah, no, we will not let you go. Let him go! Bismillah, we will not let you go. Let him go!
And welcome back to Thor at 4. After another wonderful commercial break, talking war stories again, we're back to talking about river and dirty air and dirty water or something. So when we left off, we were talking about the setbacks. So what we're talking about here is we're talking about the Fifth Amendment. I mean, that's kind of what this boils down to: is that the government can't take your property without providing just compensation.
Sure.
Like that. That's just so everybody knows. That's what we're referencing here. Is that And I actually just explained this to my wonderful producer Colton before the show. Like if the government wants land for whatever purpose it may be, the government has to, number one, they have to basically ask to buy it, and if you say no, then the government has to go to court, go through the eminent domain process, and the end result of that, if found in favor of the government, is that individual has to sell their land to the government at fair market value. So the individual has to be justly compensated for the property that has been taken, whatever it may be. It could literally be a tchotchke. It could be a bottle of water that you own. If the government decides they want that bottle of water, they got to pay you for it.
That's right.
So what we're really talking about here is we're really talking about Frederick County basically saying, screw the Fifth Amendment. We want this land, and we're going to figure out some way to get it one way or another.
I would say that's a perfect summary. But
the problem is, and right now the management plan is in its draft form, and they made it public, and the counties reportedly sent notice to all the 350 plus property owners along the Monocacy River, but for some odd reason, it seems to us, everyone we've spoken to, most everyone, received no notice.
So my sources, I'm making air quotes with my hands for everybody that can't see me. My sources have informed me that the county only sent out notifications to 50 property owners along the Monocacy River. And I could tell you,
pardon me. That's new news.
I found, there's 50 property owners in like one of those little breakout maps. That's in right. A lot of instances, especially the ones near Frederick City. I mean, so if they only sent out notification to 50 people, and you said how many people did you say live along the Monocacy?
350. Now they claim in their literature that they sent to all 350. Now I don't know. I hope certainly your sources may be accurate or may be hearsay, but presumably if they're accurate.
Trust me, we'll find out.
Yeah.
The sources also informed me that the last meeting that had to do with this for public comment was intentionally scheduled the day before the federal election.
Well, there you go. You go. And that's how we found out about it at the last minute. One individual went
to that November meeting.
Yes.
And she said there was very few people there.
Yeah, because everybody's like, election chaos. It's like...
Yes, no one knew about it. Well, I mean, very few knew about it.
Yeah, because only 50 people were even informed about it.
No, she didn't receive a notice. She actually saw a little blurb in the newspaper somewhere. Okay.
So she goes to this meeting, very dutifully goes, while the rest of us were paying attention to the election. And she's appalled about what she hears. She's alarmed. So she takes it on herself and writes letters to some of her neighbors who talk to neighbors, and that's how we all found out about it.
Excellent. So I want to talk...
And they called up and said, I don't understand this red line. What does this ESA area mean? Well, sir, you have mussels on your farm. He said, mussels?
Do you mean like these guns?
No, like clams and mussels.
Okay,
Those kind of mussels.
Wrong mussels, sorry.
Wrong mussels. He goes, I've been here forever. I've never seen a mussel on my farm. The DNR and discussed it with them, and basically they said that the ESA line was, quote, hypothetical, shouldn't be used for public use, and isn't there to, for regulatory purposes either. So in other words, what? So
DNR makes these lines because there might be something ecologically sensitive.
And they hadn't sent anyone out. The gentleman said, well, has someone been trespassing on my property looking for rare frogs or whatever, some rare species? And they said, no, we haven't had anyone trespass on your property. No one's been visiting your site and so forth. So on top of no one really confirming this, it's all hypothetical.
So basically, the DNR used the same process that I'm going to use right now. I just decided that there is a Charizard residing right here in the studio, and if you play Pokemon Go, you can come and you can catch it. Get off your phone, Colton. And so I just arbitrarily decided that with no evidence. I haven't even been outside. I can't see one. I don't have the game up. I don't know that it's there. But I could just decide, draw a red line around this and say that this is a Charizard-sensitive area. Somebody's kindergarten kid from DNR drew some lines on a map, and DNR uses them for whatever reason. What will happen to Frederick County property owners that have property within those red lines?
Well, if the use that you can put that land to will be diminished.
So, are there any specifics?
Well, here's the thing: when they lay these guidelines out, let's say that this plan, as it is now drafted, gets adopted by the county council, signed off by the county executive.
Mm-hmm.
Then departments like zoning and building will look at this, and they will modify over time. They will modify their regulations. So let's just go down the road a little bit. So this red line crosses our house off of the Monoc, close to the Sixes Bridge Road.
Okay.
And we go in one day, big smile on our face. Hey, we want to put an addition on our house. Well, a reasonable reaction could be in the future, well, I'm sorry, it's behind this line. In fact, you really shouldn't even have a house there. We might let you keep your house because it's grandfathered in, but we don't want any more additional construction.
If you like your house, you can keep your house.
Yeah. There you go. The price will go down, and if you like your house, you can keep your house. If you like your gun, you can keep your gun.
Yeah.
So that's how this goes. So they can sit up there and say, well, this plan really doesn't mean anything. Well, you're a couple that's interested in buying a beautiful stone house built on the Monoc, and all the lines go past this house.
Okay.
And they want to put an addition on it. And they are stuck cold with what do these lines mean? How will this affect my future? This guy wants to retire and have a vegetable farm. And he wants to pump water out of an existing pond that's there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's his understanding that if these setbacks are there, he can't do that. That's going to kill the deal. So even though it's a draft plan at this point, it is already messing up deals.
It's the uncertainty.
Well, when you have uncertainty, even if the deal goes through, what does it equal? It equals lower sales price.
Yeah, you're a business consultant. You've seen this every single day. If we don't know if you're buying an item and there's a regulatory body over that item, you want to know what those regulations are going to be before you buy it. It'd be like buying a warehouse full of, what were those things? Buckyballs. Little magnetic little toy things that basically got banned from the U.S. very shortly afterwards. If I was a toy store and I'd bought a bunch of those, I'm screwed. I have a bunch of useless inventory that I got to take to the recycling center and melt down.
Right. And I think, that's the immediate uncertainty. Mm-hmm. The other thing that this does is if you have a county government that overreaches like this, what's next? I think we have uncertainty well beyond the Monoc plan. We have uncertainty in the character of our elected officials, mm-hmm. that they would allow this to go on. To me, that would make me think twice about Frederick County. Mm-hmm. And I love Frederick County. I love living here.
But you guys have been here a long time.
A long time.
I mean, geez, I was in like third grade when y'all moved here. So
that's right. And every window, I've said this for years. Every window my sons they've lived there their whole life since they were born. Mm-hmm. Every window they've ever looked out had a beautiful view. Everybody they ever met loved them. But mm-hmm. if you can't count on your government to treat you fair and square, you got a serious problem.
Mm-hmm.
What's next?
And that always seems to be what this boils down to, is when it comes to government overreach, it's not necessarily about the immediate overreach, but it's about the potential of where this will end up. And let's just be fair too, Frederick County has had its own history of various private property issues.
Yes.
Just recently, we had a private business basically threatened with eminent domain if they didn't renege on a contract from the county executive. That was the whole Citizens Montague ordeal. Basically, our county executive threatened, to just steal it outright. Instead, and using that threat, she was able to get the company to basically nullify the contract. We also, there's downzoning all along Route 15 where property owners had the zoning on their land changed and totally messed everything up. So, Colton, what's that? You say we have a caller. Go ahead. Welcome,
Hello,
caller.
This is Christian. I heard something about Citizen Montague.
Yeah, what about it, Christian?
Oh, just curious because I noticed we're talking about the floodplains and land grabs and things of that nature. So they're kind of all correlated, I'm noticing.
Well, it's the whole theory of it's private property. Basically, the whole issue with Citizens Monument being retaken by Frederick County was that there was a threat that the county would actually end up taking it. You know, there's a pattern of private property rights being trampled in the county over the last 2 years.
Understand, and my actual voice of dissent when all that went on was I believe that it should have been brought to a vote. Do you think that this whole problem that we're having with the floodplain in this general area could be possibly put to a vote in Frederick County, and that it would be a slight non-issue?
The thing about that, Christian, that's the scary part. If we put this to a vote, if this goes up before the county council, what's the vote total on every single issue at the county council? It is 4-3 on every single one of them. Anything that's controversial. Sure, the county council, they could agree to name a park after, Air Bud, the movie. Okay, they could vote 7-0 on that. But try to get all 7 of them to agree on, respecting private property rights, that ain't going to happen.
Well, you think it ought to happen.
I can understand that perspective.
So, all right.
But I can also understand the perspective of, as far as eminent domain and things of that nature, is if you actually did put certain to vote, somewhat taken care of.
Absolutely. So, Christian, we gotta go to a break, so I gotta let you go. All right, thanks for calling, buddy. I'll come by and say hi sometime.
Yep.
So
sounds great. I also live on a floodplain, so I think about that too.
Oh yes. Christian there lives right next to a small little river with a bridge over it. That's his driveway. So very similar.
Yep.
problems.
So a part of the wonderful floodplain. So I've been thinking about that as you were talking and everything else. Like, oh wow, floodplain, and this is an issue with the floodplain type of situation. And wow.
All right. Thanks for calling, Christian. We got to take a quick break.
Thank you.
When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about how this is going to affect you guys, how this is going to affect property, because that's the part in all of these stories. We can rail about the Fifth Amendment all we want, but there's also a personal aspect to this, and I want to hear how this is going to affect you and your family and your retirement or whatever it may be. All right. You guys are listening to Thor at 4, and we'll be right back.
The following are 5 reasons you should go bowling. Walkersville Bowling Center, located on Biggs Ford Road, is the only duck pin bowling center and family fun center in Frederick County. 2, it's a weatherproof sport. Rain or shine, Walkersville Bowling Center is open 7 days a week with 10 lanes of fun. 3, it's a family affair, a healthy, wholesome sport that the entire family can enjoy. 4, it's affordable. From youth to senior leagues, children's party specials, and karaoke every Saturday night. There's something for everyone.
And welcome back to Thor at 4. Don't forget that you can call in at 301-917-9171. We're still talking about land grabs and rivers and dirty air, dirty water, or whatever. So I'm still here with Lisa and Earl Bell talking.
Homes, our farms, where we raise our families. And in our case, because you would ask how it affects our family, the lines that they've drawn through our property encompass our entire homes, as does the regulatory land setback. And within the regulatory land setback, they can impose additional regulations that are going to limit our land use and also limit our ability, most likely, to farm. And so that's a really big issue, because a good portion of the land along the Monoc River is agricultural. And if you're...
One part of this plan is that the only thing that the county can do within this new regulatory easement that they're trying to put in is install a park and install a bike path.
Well, they talk about, like Lisa mentioned earlier, they leave it wide open with things that could occur within the setback, including public recreation. Now, if you're a planner and you read that, what could you do with that? Hey, we could build a park.
Oh, you mean
don't do something in my boot and tell me it's raining.
Yes.
So when it all points to a conspiracy to commit taking land and doing what you want with it, if it all looks like that, that's what it is.
Absolutely.
Well, I think in this case you could sensibly connect the dots to come to that conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, the counties are denying this has anything to do with parks, bike paths, and the like, flat out denying it. I read an email, a concerned citizen emailed Jan Gardner, who's our Frederick County executive, about this, and her response was, there is nothing in the river plan that supports a bike path or trespassing or public access. But I would suggest that Ms. Gardner fully read the plan, because in the text of both the 1990 river plan and the 2016 river plan, it clearly states that the land can be used for recreational purposes, and it's specifically in the 1990 plan for bike paths, walking trails, community parks.
Okay, so that doesn't make any sense, because wouldn't boating actually pollute the river more?
Well, sure. And if you like, essentially, what's a bike path? You're building a road.
Yeah,
you're building a road adjacent to which I would never be allowed to do. If I needed to move my tractors up and down the Monoc River, I couldn't get a permit to do that, build a road to do that in a million years. So,
a little libertarian, in case you haven't noticed.
Well,
but so
it'll keep you out of trouble, because you know, a tyrant, watching a tyrant do a tyrannical act, the question that you should be saying is, when's it going to be my turn?
Absolutely.
Right.
It doesn't end there.
Because if what happens is what they're proposing actually gets adopted, shockingly, by the county councils, and it's passed, if it can happen to us, whose land is next? Because essentially this is land confiscation through government regulations.
So if your whole lower pasture is gone, tell me what that's going to do to your family farm.
Well, it affects our livelihood.
Well, and production. You know, that's some of the best productive land. That lower ground is extremely deep with silt and topsoil. It always produces, even in a drought, because you get almost a fog or a dew every morning off the river. So if you're having a drought and nothing else is growing by the river, things are moving along. So it would be devastating. You know, farming's a very tough, close margin business to begin with, and if you have any kind of ripple at all, you really bring pain on people.
So without that lower pasture, would you even be able to still operate as a farm?
It would be close. It would obviously hurt us dramatically. The other thing that it would do, we have two sons, and they would like to have the option to build a house there one day, and if the building sites are restricted from this setback, I mean, essentially, you've taken away a living opportunity for somebody for the next 50 years.
Goals is the
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask that.
Do
you hate clean air and clean water?
No, we want clean air and clean water. Obviously, we have a vested interest in it. We are tree huggers by all means.
What would
absolutely?
Because you mentioned this earlier. Your lower pasture, basically, a lot of that that's being watered from the Monocacy, correct?
Well, it is in the form of dew.
And
so moisture coming off of it.
So if the Monocacy was polluted, what would happen to your lower pasture?
Well, yeah, it would be any type of pollution like that would be detrimental. But our farm, you know, let me make a couple things clear. Our farm is immaculate. When we found trash 30 years ago, people, believe it or not, 30 years ago or longer, used to dump, you know, right along the river. We rented equipment, moved the trash out in dumpsters. There's not a beer bottle laying anywhere in over 100 acres.
You did the Boy Scout model, where you took it and you made it better than when you moved in, right?
No, it's not. It's
behind.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
On Thor at Four's Facebook page.
Yes. Okay. Great. But the most important thing you can do is you need to speak out clearly to your elected official. What I'm talking about there is the county executive, Jan Gardner, and all the county council members. Because let's face it, that's where the power is. That's how this can become regulatory. Right now, it's a draft plan. The draft plan, whatever it ends up being, which I think it'll be pretty close to what we're discussing now, will be presented eventually to the county council, and that's where it'll either be voted up or down. So you need to get in touch with your council member and the county executive and state your case.
In here, we have Molly.
Hi.
Hi.
It's actually Holly.
Or Holly.
That's okay.
I did that twice, didn't I, boys?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and say hi real quick.
Hi, I'm Travis. Hi, I'm Clay.
All right, Travis, Clay, and I'm never going to get it right. So, but all right. So you guys live within this. Monocacy River plan, right?
We do. We actually purchased our property over 14 years ago, and we have felt so blessed to be able to be there to raise our boys on that land. And
Where'd you live before that?
I grew up as a Maryland resident, but then I went to Georgia for school, and then when we were pregnant and delivered our first son in Georgia, we decided we wanted to come back to Maryland to be closer to our family so that they could have family around them as they were growing up.
So you moved. So you were here. You moved away, and then you came right on back.
I moved away for school, and then I did come right back, and I never thought I would live in what we used to tease people, call Fredneck County, but I'm a proud resident of Fredneck County now. I love it, actually, and wouldn't imagine being anywhere else. Early November, we received a letter, not from the county, but from a fellow landowner who put out this information.
Wait, hold on a sec. Hold on here. So you are a landowner. You pay property taxes in Frederick County.
Yes, sir.
You live on the Monocacy River.
Yes, sir.
And you were not informed by the county
Exactly.
that this was happening.
Exactly.
You were informed by a private citizen
Yes.
who was informed by the county.
Who
Happened to find it.
Yes, happened to find out this information much by accident, and then took it upon herself to then contact 100 or so residents, and then urged each of us, to go online and read this river plan in detail. Now, mind you,
So we can confirm that there's at least one homeowner along the Monocacy River that was not contacted by Frederick County government.
You can probably, if you've been to any of the past meetings, you can confirm that there were many homeowners that did not receive this information.
I should just march them right here to the studio. We get it all on record, right? Colton, how many mics do you have in here? So, all right.
In the appendix of the written plan, there's a summary of all these recommendations, and in Section 622, it specifically states that Frederick County should establish the Monocacy River Corridor as a priority area for land acquisition for open space, parkland, habitat, and resource protection. Section 8.6 is nearly identical, recommending again that the Monocacy River Corridor be promoted as a priority area for land acquisition, open space, river access, passive parkland, habitat, and resource protection, and that those sources of funding to purchase land in the river corridor should be sought through various federal, state, and local government other foundations, and also non-governmental organizations. So in our mind, if we as landowners have no desire to sell or give up our property, and we're seeing words like this.
Yeah, just like Earl said earlier.
Exactly. It comes across to us as stealing or confiscation. Those words are synonymous.
Well, I think taxation is theft, so I guess that would be very fitting. But no, and you are right to be concerned. There is a pattern of this in this county. There's a pattern of this with our county executive of basically threatening eminent domain in order to get what she wants. So you're it's not there's the appearance of impropriety in all of this, where there is an established pattern of behavior that has been continuous over many years now. So it's not like this isn't Chicken Little.
Right.
Okay.
And this is all new information to us. We've been, kind of, I guess, in the dark. We've been living happily on our land, growing our family. We had goats for a while, and, just having fun on our
Goats
property.
or chickens? Which one do you prefer?
Well, that's a good question. Probably the chickens would be the next step. But we had goats at one point, and they were a little hard to keep, fenced in. But Travis here might like to talk about the chickens.
Well, when we had goats, it was a big handful, just every day going down there, giving them feed.
So you took care of them, like those were your pets. That was your chores.
Well, yeah, pretty much. And sometimes we would go down there and we'd get a surprise of a new baby goat.
Well, how old are you, Travis? Just so we have context here.
I'm 12 years old.
And you're already taking care of goats.
Was.
Was. Okay.
Well, in the future, we were thinking about building a chicken coop, and with the river board and the government trying to take our land, I think we would lose that opportunity.
I didn't tell them to say that, by the way. I just want to establish that on the radio. Maybe we should start live streaming so I can prove this sort of stuff. But all right. So, how much of your land will be covered by this easement
So that's a good question, and I don't have exact numbers, but that was one of our biggest fears.
Just round numbers.
When I looked at the map, when I looked at the river board online and read through this document, which is extensive and not an easy thing to read online. It's over 225 pages, and it was not easily accessible through public means as the county had suggested. But looking at the maps, that was our biggest concern because we saw these red and yellow lines that you heard Lisa and Earl describe. And basically, it comes right up to our back deck, essentially. So we have 11 acres, and the other part that goes through our woods, which is the majority of our acreage, is wooded area. It encompasses almost that entire amount. So you're talking about 85 to 90% of our land would be consumed by these boundary lines.
All right, so we got to take a quick break.
Sure.
But when we come back, I want to talk more about what this 85 to 90% of your land could be used for. We already know some of what it's used for a 12-year-old to learn chores and responsibility. So you're listening to Thor at 4, and we'll be right back. We're two boys, and so we have Travis and Clay. And I just want to talk to you guys. Basically, you guys have 11 acres out there. You guys have a little bit of space. What do you guys do with this land that your folks bought?
We do dirt bike riding. We build forts. Our friends, they hunt on that property. And eventually I would like to hunt on that property.
What are you going to... You want to get some deer, some mixed nice venison jerky?
Yes, sir.
Don't call me sir. I work for a living. Oh my! All right, Travis. So tell me. So what do you? You mentioned that you did the goat stuff earlier. Okay, that you're raising goats and everything. What else do you like to do around there?
Well, I have a soccer goal and in our backyard, and I love just to go outside and just play basketball, soccer with that, and play basketball in our driveway. And when the line comes up, it completely overtakes my soccer goal, so I don't know if I'll be able to play soccer there anymore. I like to search for cool things in our woods.
What's the coolest thing you found in your woods?
It's an old wagon wheel.
Ooh, nice. So Clay, do you? I assume you play any sports as well?
Yeah, I play basketball and I run track.
All right, so how's this going to affect your sports career?
Well, it's not really going to affect my sports career when they take the land. It affects me. It affects my playtime outside with my brother.
Oh, that's terrible. Guys, thanks for sharing. I know, Holly, you said you had a few other things that you wanted to mention here because this report is extensive. Okay, look. I read 400-page documents for a living. That's basically my day job. All right, and they are the most dull and trite and terrible things. Like, I think we should use the documents like that to torture terrorist subjects at Gitmo. All right, if it was up to me, that and Justin Bieber, nobody could stand the onslaught. All right, so you went through half of a torture session here. So tell me what you saw in there that made you so worried.
Ethical.
What I just heard is so if you said, I want to build a garage, okay, and you put a garage on the side of your house, they would charge you a $20,000 impact fee and then use that $20,000 to buy your land that you had already taken. So you're actually kind of it's like the government's not actually spending any money on it. They're literally spending it on your back.
Exactly. And even so, even if they were going to attempt to justly compensate us, which I can't imagine Frederick County would be able to do. We know that Frederick County doesn't really have a lot of money, and they're often cutting things, but there is really, in some things in life, there is no amount of money that can replace the roots that we've established, the hopes and the dreams that we have for our future on this property. And like, Earl and Lisa shared, we have two boys also, and we want to pass that land down to them, and we want them to be able to grow their families on it if that's what they desire.
I kind of want to buy your property and build a big wall and then declare myself George Washington of the 8th Army of the New World Order and basically just declare myself a sovereign state.
Yeah.
Like, if you ever seen The Postman. But
well, to end on a positive note, I
Yes.
would like to share one positive. I don't want to come across as being all negative. I can see that a great deal of effort was put into this document. I know a lot of people have voluntarily worked hard to create this document, and that they really probably somewhere deep in their hearts have an interest in protecting the river. And we definitely support certain things in there, such as managing hazardous waste and toxins and removal and recycling of used tires. But I think those efforts need to be stepped up, because on any given day, you can come to the corner of Ligor Road and Ligor Bridge Road, look over the guardrail, and see down there it is a dumping ground of tires and trash. And it's disheartening to see that. So I would like to see those efforts be built up more and less on taking away land from private property owners.
Like, let's start with the basics, get the basics done, and then we can move on to this other stuff.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
that's what we need to do.
You got it.
Enforce the laws we have, and then we can talk about new easements or whatever. But start at the beginning. So, Holly.
Yes,
I got it again twice in a row. So, Holly, Travis, and Clay, thank you guys for coming into studio. Everybody, you've been listening to Thor at 4, our wonderful weekly roundup of county politics. Don't forget to give us a like on Facebook at Thor at 4, and we'll be back next week.